What is up, gamers? Enforcer 5150 here, EGX. Watch Dogs Legion is out, and it is time to benchmark. So we're going to go ahead and try to make this kind of quick. I'm going to have the graphics quality at the standard Ultra, and then we're going to turn on ray tracing on the highest, and we will try DLSS as well. But first, we're going to go ahead and turn ray tracing off and get a base of how everything performs without ray tracing and without DLSS. Alright, so here we go with the DLSS off. We are running at 1440p. Everything is maxed out on Ultra. So right now, all I can say is that the blacks, and as far as like how the light is reflecting, is kind of garbage. But if you look at the reflections and stuff like that, this is just our regular rasterized reflections, which is actually really good. That's not bad at all. And I have to say, it's not terrible, but as far as like the lighting and how the blacks are like coming out right now is just, it's not very crisp. I can probably change it a little bit more with turning up my contrast, but yeah, this isn't that. I mean, as far as when we look at the E3 and stuff like that, this is not what we were looking at, and that's mostly because in the E3 they obviously always had on ray tracing, DLSS, and they packed up everything they could to show you the best quality they can. But as far as the performance goes, I mean, it's not terrible. We are staying over 60 frames per second. Just around 60 frames per second. But that's not bad. That's not bad at all. Alright, so here we go. Taking a look at the finish. We have a max of 107 frames per second and an average of 70. Our 1% low is 55 and a minimum of 32 frames per second. Not too bad for the RTX 2080 Ti. It could go a little bit higher, but this is first day stuff, man. So let's go ahead and change this up and turn on ray tracing to maximum. We're going to go Ultra. There we go. So let's go ahead and test this one. All right, so instantly, and I mean instantly, we can tell this looks way better than having ray tracing off. We actually have dark areas. It's not as bland as it was. Now we can actually see the reflections. The reflections look great, but here's the problem. We're running 39 frames per second. This is not a playable frame rate, unfortunately. But it looks great. Maybe if scalpers got their hands off of our 3090s, then we would be able to go ahead and get a little bit more. But we also don't have DLSS on yet. But this is a little bit closer to what we were expecting to see in since the E3. So I mean, this is way better. The lighting is actually bouncing off everything, so it's giving us real dark areas, real light areas, instead of just having it like kind of seem almost washed out. Like I said, I could have probably fixed it a little bit with cranking up that contrast and turning down the brightness a little bit and changing the gamma. But yeah, I mean, it looks great, but the frames per second is not playable in my opinion. So here's our results. We have a maximum of 82, not for the long, but an average of 39 frames per second, which is about right, and 14 minimum, and a 1% low of 32 frames per second. So let's go ahead and work on the DLSS a little bit. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put DLSS on quality and run the benchmark on that, and we're going to keep everything else the same. So here we go. 57s. Yeah. So I went through these, and I did run this test actually twice because it seemed like it was kind of going on the lows a little bit. I ran it it's just it seems like the quality is almost the same as the other one in a way, but you can tell that there is a little bit of fuzziness in some of the distant stuff. I mean, if you look at the propane tanks, they look great, and our actual reflections are coming up pretty crisp. But if you kind of look there in a distance, you can tell that it's not rendering it completely, and I think it may be because of the DLSS. Now, the problem we used to have when DLSS came out at first was with which game was that? Battlefield 5. Yeah, and it was pretty bad. It made everything just look like garbage. But they actually have this working out. I mean, if you look closely, you can see some jagged edges there, like in a few things, and that is just because it's trying to pre-render, I would say. Obviously that's not what it's doing, but it's trying to do that super sampling. So let's go ahead and take a look at the results real quick. We got an 81 max, an average of 56, 17 on our minimum, and a 45 1% low. That 17 is probably just when we loaded in, so we'll take that with a grain of salt. Anyway, let's go ahead and change the DLSS to ultra performance. Now, in this benchmark, there was a problem. Mostly what I noticed here was that it is really fuzzy. Like everything is kind of just fuzzy. If you look at the reflections here as we come up, you'll see that it's kind of like, I'd say, fuzzy, blurry, whatever you want to call it. It's definitely not enjoyable. It's almost the same as we were seeing when it was rasterized, and that we were actually getting like 70 frames per second. So dropping it down to this, I don't think it is that worth it. It definitely gives us real ray tracing. So if you really want ray tracing, by all means, this is what you want to do. But if you look at the quality of everything, it doesn't feel realistic. Even the lighting doesn't seem like it's really that realistic. You do have better dark areas than we did in the rasterized, but it's not that enjoyable, I would say. It's totally up to you though if you want it that way. But yeah, this is we're getting good frames per second, of course, because we have that DLSS kind of just maxing out. It still gives us better than, I'd say, rasterized in a way. So we have a 98 max, and we have an average of 69, of a minimum of 25, and a 1% low of 53, 0.01 low of 45. But that's still actually pretty good. I'm not too hard on it. It's playable, but like I said, it's very fuzzy in my opinion. So we're going to go ahead and move on to DLSS Balanced. Now this one is probably where I would stick at. We do get a decent amount of quality. It's a little bit fuzzier obviously than the maximum quality that we had before. But if you look down here, you can see that you're actually getting some decent reflections out of everything. The lighting still seems dark in its dark spots. I don't have HDR on. I'm just to let you know, I'm not using the HDR in the Samsung G7 in the video that we did the other week. If you look at those propane tanks, they definitely look kind of crisp. It's very shiny. The reflections look like real reflections. It's not like the super high quality that you get before, but we definitely got detail out of everything. But yeah, this is way better than, I'd say, the ultra performance that we were looking at. The ultra performance was just terrible. But we are staying around 60 frames per second. It does drop down a little bit when it gets crazy here. We get down to 51, 52 frames per second, which that's, in my opinion, still playable. If you only drop down 10 frames per second, around 50, it's okay on my end. I know a lot of people, they just have to have it over 60, and I get that, but my opinion is it's playable. So here we go with a max of 86, an average of 62, a minimum of 18, but that's probably when we just loaded in, so I'm not going to take that. A 1% low of 50 frames per second and 41 for the 0.01 or 0.1%. Not bad, guys. Not really that bad. For this system, it's a little, because we can get a little bit more than that. But really, it's not that bad. Here is just a little bit of, running around in the beginning of the game. I have not played the game yet. I haven't got to play in the game. And I've been waiting for this for a while, but it is very late at night, and I wanted to get this video out to you guys first. Anyway, I have to say that's all we're going to do for this video. I will do some different resolutions and different quality settings in another video. I just wanted to get this one out and take a look at the DLSS and ray tracing that we have offered to us, and especially on the 2080 Ti, which hopefully you guys can get it for kind of cheap, maybe eBay or something like that. But I will say this, I said this before and I'll say it again, for the 30 series, I will not, and I mean I will not, buy from scalpers. And I hope you all do the same. Let them just hold on to them. I won't do it. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching this video. Make sure you hit that like button. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel. You all take care and happy gaming.